I want to be sedated with the Game Boy!
He's funny. I like him.
Say, and there's his friend.
Oh, but Jason, I want you so bad.
Not so much. He sucks.
I know. Here's Jason once again coming back to crap on these poor, innocent YouTubers. And yeah, this time, allow me to start off by saying this. I'm doing it for clout, and I'm just jealous. Except actually this time, I am jealous. Because making a movie is better than not having made a movie. And where's my movie? I don't have one. These people do. Good or bad, that's commendable. It takes a lot of effort to make a movie. And if I did have a movie, it wouldn't be nearly as good as any of the ones we're about to look at. So this is me looking at movies that retro video game YouTubers have made. I could only think of 3 examples, that being the Happy Console Gamer movie, the AVGN movie, and the Game Chasers movie. If you know of any other examples, because those were the only 3 I could think of, leave a comment. I would love to hear about them. I would totally watch them and maybe even do a follow-up if there's enough movies. I don't know, does Pete Dorr have a movie? Is there a Sega Lord X movie I don't know about? Irate Gamer? Actually, I said that as a joke, but now that I think about it, that would be fucking awesome. I would love for Chris Bors to make Irate Gamer the movie. Before you comment the channel Awesome Movies or the Linkara movie or anything like that, I'm specifically talking about retro video game YouTube channels. Not just other YouTubers that have made movies. Like, Fred the movie doesn't count. Or anything that was made by like a big studio. Like, that doesn't count. I mean, the people in charge of the YouTube channel decided one day that they wanted to make a movie, so they themselves went out and did it. Anyway, I'm gonna do this in chronological order. So first up is the Happy Console Gamer movie, which the Happy Console Gamer actually commented on one of my Phantasy Star videos. So Sly is aware. Johnny is aware.
You're telling me that Sylvester Stallone knows that we're doing this?
Hi, if you're watching this. I didn't hate your movie, it was fine. In fact, I liked it more than I thought I would. I saw it when he put it out eons ago, but rewatching it now, it was a fun time. It's very homely. Like, if I were to just go out right now and try to make a movie with my friends and like other people that I know, I imagine it would look a lot closer to the Happy Console Gamer movie than the AVGN or Game Chasers movies. Those look like actual films. This looks like an extended YouTube video. And fittingly enough, it starts out like a normal episode. And that's an interesting thought, actually, because the AVGN movie starts more or less like this too. And if you're gonna make a movie based on your internet persona, that's one of the first creative challenges you need to address. Does the show you produce in real life exist in the world of the movie? In the Happy Console Gamer's case, the answer is yes. He goes through the whole why am I doing this trope, which is where you're making the show online or you're doing some kind of like work or creative endeavor or whatever, and you start to doubt the worthwhileness of the whole thing.
Yeah, a little tiring. I don't think anybody understands it out there in the internet realms. I waste every Saturday just talking into this goddamn camera. Fucking waste.
It's funny how, of the 3 movies, this is the only one to employ this trope, because that's a hallmark of James Rolfe's output. It just doesn't happen really in the movie. So he gets a call to go to the game store where his buddy Robman, if you watch Happy Console Gamer, Robman's on sometimes. It's like his sidekick. I guess like his wife is sidekick number 1, Robman's sidekick number 2. So he goes out, and in his apartment complex are zombies, and I'm not really sure why. It's never really explained. He's also being trailed by this scary looking guy in a suit. So he gets to the game store where he starts talking to Robman and some people that are there. And this is an interesting scene because it breaks the 180 rule. You know, the rule in film that it's like the first thing you learn. There's like an invisible line on set, and you want all of your cameras placed on one side of that line, or else it's disorienting. This scene breaks that rule. It's very strange because it's so ingrained. This is something that so many people know not to do. Like, I don't know anything about making a film, and I know this. So we never see it broken because everybody knows not to do it. So when it gets broken here, it's actually disorienting. Before seeing this, I wouldn't have been able to tell you why you don't do that because it doesn't, I don't know, it doesn't really make sense to me. But seeing it in action, yeah, it is actually disorienting. You're supposed to have the camera over different shoulders. If you're doing a shot where it's like just one person talking and then another person talking back at them, the camera's over like one person's right shoulder. It's got to be over the other guy's left shoulder so it stays on the same side of the thing in the 180 rule. But in this scene, it's over both of the right shoulders and it looks weird. So they leave the game store to go to this very picturesque creek where Robman tells the happy console gamer that he wants to end the show because he's moving. Fair enough. I mean, I don't see why he can't just keep doing the show by himself. You know, I mean, the movie started with him doing the show by himself. I do like this, though, because it adds to Johnny's doubt about him continuing on with the show. It fuels his discontent with the show right now. You start the movie by having your character down in the dumps, so you root for him, so you want him to get better. You want to see Johnny continue and find his love for making the show again. So then Johnny gets an anonymous tape for these 4 unreleased games for a fictional game system. These games are so good, they were never released because no gamer would ever need to buy another video game again if they had these. So it would ruin their entire business, so they didn't release them. It's a collect for MacGuffins movie. A very video gamey like plot. And there's a reason it's a video gamey plot, because it doesn't lend itself well to a good movie, to a good story told in this structure. You're just collecting 4 objects, which, I mean, you can make a good movie out of anything, so let's not crap too hard on it. My problem is that once you get past the premise and Johnny actually starts collecting these objects, he usually doesn't find them in very interesting ways. Like, he finds one of them just outside an abandoned building that's supposed to be the old game studio. There's a long build-up, too, where Johnny walks and walks and walks, and then he just goes up to the front of the building, wipes off a small layer of dust. Like, we're supposed to believe that was sitting there for 30 years. But it's just, how fucking lame is this? They build up this whole shot, and you think they're gonna go to a cool location inside of this abandoned building, and then they don't. He just finds the game outside. Now, I understand why he might not have wanted to, you know, break into this abandoned building to film there, but it didn't literally need to be that building. They could have found another location. But it's such a long build-up, and he doesn't even go inside. It's just, he just finds the game on the ground. So this is for a game system that doesn't exist, and Johnny doesn't have it. It's the one game system Johnny doesn't have. So he's at the game store, and they're just like, here you go, man. You can just have it for free.
How much you want for that?
I don't care. You can just have it.
Really? I'll take it.
And somebody else is freaking out that it's like the rarest thing ever. And like, oh, where did you find that? And it's like,
Is that the relic system?
Actually, it is. Yeah, good eyes,
Oh
man.
my god, those are so rare.
It's pretty rare.
Oh.
the game store just like gave that to him for free? Why? Because he's Johnny and everybody loves Johnny? Well, I mean, if that's the case, then fair enough. So both this and the AVGN movie go out of their way to dunk on smaller retro game channels. Like this one.
I'm the power game player. I'm the power game player. Welcome to my show. It's the Power Game Player Show.
There's also these secret agents that are chasing Johnny around because they don't want him to get the games. And when no budget movies try to do this type of thing, it always looks ridiculous. The Channel Awesome movies try to do it all the time. And in fact, I think just regular episodes of Nostalgia Critic do this a lot, where you're supposed to be like the fucking Illuminati. You're supposed to be like a Matrix type guy in a suit that looks badass. But when it's a zero budget movie, the suits never fit right, and the guys are never in shape enough to be intimidating. So it just comes off as goofy. It's like, you know that meme of that 18-year-old standing in front of that door and he's supposed to be like a bouncer, but it's just like a fucking regular ass suburban door where you know nothing cool is happening behind there? It's like that. At least that's what I would say, but this is Canada. Maybe their secret government agents just look like that up there. Like, he gets chased by more zombies, he meets Gamester81, which is cool. Remember Gamester81? He used to be like one of the biggest retro video game YouTubers. This movie also has fight scenes, which to their credit, actually looks kind of decent. It's just them, like, mock fighting, like, in slow motion, but they sped up the footage to make it look like they're really doing, like, intense shit. Odd choice for the happy console gamer to rely so much on fight scenes in his movie, though. It's just not something that I would expect. He finds another one of those games at the company's headstone? Like, the whole company has a gravestone? That's just weird, but I think that's supposed to be the joke, so I won't question it. Every time he goes back to his apartment, he either gets attacked by somebody in the parking lot or he gets swarmed by zombies. And at this point, it's clear that these guys in suits, these government agent types, have some kind of a hit out on our man. So, if Johnny knows this, why does he keep going home? If that's the only place he gets attacked. He's clearly a wanted man. I would just, I don't know, stay with Rob Man or flee town? I don't know. I fucking wouldn't go back home if every time I go there I get attacked and have to fend off zombies. We only see the zombies at his apartment complex. We never see him outside. It never ties into anything else in this movie. It's just a thing that's happening. There's zombies in his apartment complex. But for something with zero budget, I can tell that he at least tried. They go to a lot of locations. There are people in costumes. It has fight scenes, for goodness sake. Those aren't always easy. I really expected much less from this, and honestly, I had fun watching the Happy Console Gamer movie. I wouldn't call it good per se. Some bits dragged a little, like Rob Man dressed up as Snake infiltrating the power game player's house. So Johnny and Rob Man track down all 4 games and play them.
If you'll do the honors.
You do the honors of that.
All right.
And they're all shmups, which means I wouldn't like them. All the fuss over these games was over this? I mean, does this look particularly good to you? I think it was a mistake to show the games. Like, maybe they should have been given the Pulp Fiction treatment, where, you know, you never actually see what's in the briefcase. Because showing this, like, this is what you guys were after the whole time. And it's funny that I brought this up. That's what I wrote in my notes, what I just said. And apparently Johnny had the same thought, because it turns out that these 4 games are not the ultimate game that couldn't be released. They're a treasure map to find the ultimate game that could never be released. And that gets the Pulp Fiction treatment. They even use a briefcase. So they have a chase scene with the goofy-looking agents and find a secret underground warehouse, which again, impressive location, good find. Then they do the forces Johnny to review the game trope, which, if you've ever been on YouTube, I'm sure you've seen this, where somebody is held against their will, tied up, forced to review these shitty games.
So, you review video games. How would you like to review the greatest video game of our time?
I'll pass.
I don't think you have a choice.
Except in this case, it's an awesome game that's so good that it literally fucking kills anyone who sees it.
No one is meant to play this game. You guys are crazy.
Johnny, he's turning it on.
Whatever you do, don't look at it.
Oh my god! It's so good! It's so good! Oh my god!
And that's how it ends. Johnny and Rob Man go to the park and he's pushing some kids on a swing. I assume they're Rob Man's kids. But anyway, I didn't hate this. It got in, got out quickly. The movie's only about an hour long and didn't take itself too seriously. Next up, AVGN the movie. And then I'm going to anticlimactically do the Game Chasers after everyone already clicks off. The thing with the AVGN movie is I'm going to have to be very careful with the clips that I use, because Screenwave Media is notorious for taking reviews of this thing down. I have seen countless other channels try to review the AVGN movie only to get taken down because I guess they use too many clips. I'm assuming that's why. I'm hoping it's not they're just taking down any negative review. Well, anyway, my review's not going to be totally negative because I think I actually like this movie more than most people. In fact, I think the clip I used to start this video might already be pushing it. I might have had to cut that out, and you might have no idea what I'm talking about right now. If this didn't start with an AVGN movie clip, then that's why it got claimed. First off, the AVGN movie is 2 hours long, and there are so many things which could have been cut down or removed entirely. For example, this intro. There's this long-ass intro with a bunch of people just saying how much they love the AVGN, just giving them a BJ for like 5 minutes. I'm sure in a movie theater in 2014 when this came out, being amongst a million other, not a million, but like 100 other AVGN fans in the same room in like a packed theater, I'm sure this sequence played quite a bit differently. But when you're watching this movie alone and you just take the movie by itself, not as like a theater going experience, but like as a movie, it's way too fucking long. I mean, some early AVGN episodes are less time than that. And this is just a bunch of people like me blathing to the camera about how much they love the AVGN. There's lots of cameos, like here's the gaming historian. There's Jew Wario, which the movie actually came out after he died, I think, so this might be his last screen appearance, I don't know. Later we see Andre Meadows and the Nostalgia Critic and Lloyd Kaufman, I'm sure a million other people that I'm forgetting. And I think at its core, the AVGN movie really just has one main issue, and that's that it tries to be too many things and doesn't do any of them particularly well. It's not that funny. It's supposed to be a comedy, but there aren't really that many jokes. And the movie's so stretched out, the jokes which are here, it's not rapid fire. You get a joke every few minutes, and it may or may not make you chuckle. The story is functional, but it's not really that entertaining, I would say. You're not going to get emotionally wrapped up in the fucking AVGN movie is what I'm trying to say. At the beginning, this whole game store part makes no sense. We've already established in this universe that the AVGN is a huge celebrity that has millions and millions of people watching him. He's apparently like the biggest fucking deal ever. Like this girl wants him to sign his breasts at the bar. Like holy shit. This guy is as famous as anyone is in this universe. Yet he has to work a shitty job at a game store that he hates. There's a bit soon after that where he gets chased by zombies, which has nothing to do with anything. In fact, you could cut the first half hour of this movie and you would miss basically nothing. I guess you would lose this classic joke. The movie really starts when you get to the general, because this guy's pretty cool. Oh yeah, maybe I should talk about the plot and not assume that you've already seen this movie. And in trying to do that, and trying to summarize this plot, it's clear how much shit ends up happening. And that's my favorite thing about the movie, is how much shit is woven in, and it actually kind of works. I know it said it tried to be many different things and kind of fails at all of them, but I meant tonally. I didn't mean as far as like plot elements go. I think the game store is a complete waste and goes nowhere, but the other stuff is cool because they set it up and it actually results in the climax of the film, and I like that. You're supposed to be like dominoes. Like, it starts very small. It starts with the AVGN and his sidekick Cooper and this girl named Mandy going off to find the ET games, the famous ET landfill, and then one by one elements get introduced which end up with this giant monster destroying Las Vegas, which I actually kind of like how this was handled, because them digging up the landfill gets the attention of the government. The government thinks that they're there because they know about this alien that they're holding in captivity. Mandy's only with them because she's not actually a nerd, she's a double agent, she's like a corporate slob. So because she needs to be in contact with this corporation, because they're in the middle of nowhere, she loses cell phone signal, so she needs to wander off, which leads to her getting captured. Which leads to, of course, probably the most famous line of the film. I thought I wouldn't have to degrade myself with a sexy cat fight. You thought wrong, or whatever the fuck they say. And for such a famous line, I sure don't remember exactly how it was said. At the same time, Cooper is also a crazy conspiracy theorist. This whole movie is like talking about all this random shit. One of which conspiracies is about an omnipresent super being called
Death Morphix.
I like it because pretty much everything gets set up. Events happen because of the last one. It's like falling dominoes. They start with just looking for games, and because of that, all this shit ends up happening. I genuinely like the flow of events in this movie once it gets going, after the first half hour or so. This stuff all kind of fits. It's a bunch of the early stuff that doesn't. But the movie does feel like idea diarrhea. From the perspective of James Rolfe, this is him taking on Hollywood. That's not me making fun of him, that's a quote directly from his book. So this is his big chance to make a movie. So of course it's gotta have Mike Matei in a monster costume punching buildings and destroying miniatures. It's gotta have zombies, it's gotta have a car chase, it's gotta have a scene where he gets to make fake vomit and projectile it all over a cute girl's face. you know, all the hallmarks of his old work. Basically, the thought process is that if you're James, if you don't get to do this now, then you might not ever get a chance to do it again. So you better cram in all the things you've ever wanted to do in a movie into this one movie. It's a shame that despite all this shit going on, the end product still ends up kind of bland. I think a lot of that comes down to that the humor, for the most part, comes across more odd than funny. I already established that there aren't a rapid fire sense of jokes happening over and over again. There's only a few, and I don't want to say that they're sexist. Other people have, but I wouldn't say that. But they are weirdly sexual. Now, what's wrong with being sexy?
No, I didn't say that.
I already touched on the sign my breasts joke, which actually I think is kind of funny, but it's only funny because it's James Rolfe doing this. It's James wholesome family man Rolfe. And then he makes the meme face too, which is very funny. We've got the I'm not wearing any panties line. Look at the size of those melons, take note McButter. Just weird lines like that that feel like they belong in something like, I don't know, Revenge of the Nerds. Maybe that was the point. There's also kind of a mixed messaging thing going on. Like, the whole opening was him, like, giving a BJ to his fans, and his fans giving a BJ to him. It's supposed to be, like, congratulatory, like, you're all here to watch my fucking movie. Thanks for being a fan. Thanks for supporting this movie, because it was crowdfunded, of course. Howard Scott Warshaw in his cameo goes over the importance of the fans even more. But then, on the other hand, I made the joke at the beginning of this video, he shits on his fans too. Like, he shits on other retro gaming channels. The scene where he gets chased by zombies, like, these are his fans. These are people wanting him to review E.T. That's what the zombies are. His fans in this movie are represented by literal zombies. So what are you trying to say, James? The AVGN movie's fine. I've watched it probably 4 or 5 times in my life, and it is entertaining on some level. Which is not something I can say for the next film I'm going to talk about. All right, let's scooch in a little closer for this one. I have wanted to talk about the Game Chasers movie since it came out for about 1.5 years, but I never really had a good reason to do it. So, you know how YouTubers will sometimes invent entire, like, long series or take on a broader project just because they wanted to talk about one specific thing? That was me with Phantasy Star, for the record. I really just wanted an excuse to play through Phantasy Star 4, so I figured, fuck it, why not just review all the games? That was this video and the Game Chasers movie. I really just wanted to talk about this. Now, let me go on record and just say that I fucking love the Game Chasers. If they post a new episode, I drop whatever I'm doing and I watch the new episode. They're one of my favorite YouTube channels, and I mean that unironically. In fact, I actually backed this movie on Indiegogo. With that being said, I think how a lot of people feel about the AVGN movie, that it's just kind of boring and nothing happens. That's how I feel about the Game Chasers movie. I think this is the real perception of the AVGN movie should apply to this. Now, to be fair, I didn't back this because I had, like, confidence that they would make an entertaining movie. Their output on YouTube does nothing to suggest that, so I'm really not shocked that it came out as bad as it did. It was more of just a thank you for the free entertainment. Here's some bones, here's some money to go off and make your fucking movie. It's important to support creative endeavors. I think whenever somebody that you like has entertained you and you get a chance to support something, you know, they're trying to do something better, then you should support that. The movie came out, and I'm watching it with somebody else who's just as big a fan of the Game Chasers as I am. And about halfway through, I said out loud, I think this might be the worst movie I have ever seen in my entire life. I don't know if that's true. I mean, I don't watch a lot of movies regularly, but I'm sure I've seen much worse than this. It's not on, like, the same level as, like, The Room, where it's easy to point and laugh at it. It's not that kind of bad. It's the kind of bad where there is just nothing going on under the hood in this movie. Like, nothing at all. This is a movie with no ideas. It feels like it was made just because they thought that they should make a movie. Not because they had any ideas to make a movie. Just because they wanted to, so they went out and did it. Now, I'm fairly sure that's actually the origin of all three of these movies, but at least the Happy Console Gamer movie and the AVGN movie had other ideas. This is just like, I don't even know, man. So this was also distributed by Screenwave Media, which sucks because I can't use clips again. The opening of the movie mirrors Billy's actual NES backstory, which he has told in many episodes of Game Chasers, that his grandparents got it for him. He had the NES at his grandparents. He would play that whenever he went over there, and he would go over there all the time because he liked playing the NES. So they set that up, and then there's this pointless spaceship scene, which looks cool. It looks like cheap CG. It looks like an early 2000s like graphics test. But there's nothing wrong with that. I dig it. I dig the aesthetic, but it's just there's no reason for it to exist. It doesn't advance anything in the plot. It's just here to be there. I'm like, do we really need 2 filler scenes before the movie starts and proper? So when the movie actually starts, they're movers unloading boxes from the back of this moving truck. But it's just one boring static scene. This could have been so much more dynamic. They could have been like moving boxes into the house. They could have been just generally doing a lot more shit. But no, they're just like standing behind the truck talking. Not even having interesting conversation. They're just talking about fucking GoBots. I got a kick out of this part. There's a bee or wasp or something on Jay's shirt. He does a good job keeping focus and not breaking. Then a vase, which for some reason isn't wrapped in newspaper, tucked away safely somewhere, is just placed on top of a huge stack of boxes. Falls, they can't catch it, and it breaks. It's like, no shit, pack your shit better, Jesus Christ. Of course that was gonna happen with it up there. So anyway, they get fired, and that's our down in the dumps moment. It's important to start, as I said with the Happy Console Gamer movie, it's kind of important to start with your character down in the dumps so you root for them to get their life back on track. Only in this movie, getting their life back on track equals finding their childhood NES. Seriously, that's the premise of the movie. They're watching TV and they see a parody of their own show, which is kind of cute. I like that. The Game Chasers took the opposite route. Instead of them being video makers in this reality, they're not. Their show doesn't exist. The Game Chasers don't exist in Adventures in Game Chasing. So this is a very classic setup. You got 2 goofy schlubs that are down on their luck, no doubt inspired by Dumb and Dumber and UHF. They're just kind of bad at everything, and they're looking for a purpose in their life. So they go to the garage sale, and they find a box of NES games. Only Game Dave beat them to it, so they're not able to buy them. It's cool to see Game Dave here. I like Game Dave. I like this scene at the garage sale where he's blowing on one of the NES connectors. If you don't know what this is, it's the thing that when you insert a game into your NES, that's what like accepts it. But he looks kind of like a harmonica, so he starts blowing on it. It's kind of cute. But the premise, man, I can't get over the premise. It's just Billy is like, man, Jay, you remember when we were kids and we used to play that Nintendo? That was cool, right? We should play Nintendo. We should find my exact childhood Nintendo and play that. Has to be that one. It can't be any other Nintendo. In fact, Game Dave's fat sidekick explains it pretty well himself.
Trail them. See if they actually find the NES.
Well, I mean, okay, but can I ask why? You already have 10 of these things. What makes theirs so special?
Yeah, this is a lame concept for a movie. I'm sorry, there's no other way to put it. I mean, you can make a good movie out of anything, but you're fighting an uphill battle with this one. So they go on a road trip to find this NES, which was apparently given to his cousin that lives in Colorado. My largest problem with Adventures in Game Chasing isn't this initial premise. It's how reference heavy everything is. Look at this scene.
Ghost Getter 1.
What a piece of junk. We're gonna die if we take that on the road.
You realize I gave you the last $2,000 of my hard-earned money to help us get this new car? And somehow, some way, you completely knocked it out of the park, brother!
You've got like a weird Ghostbusters parody thing going on. Then they just use lines from Star Wars and lines from Dumb and Dumber all in one scene. I'm with that guy. This car looks awesome. Later on, Game Sack shows up, which is probably my favorite part of the whole movie, but it's not funny on its own. It's only funny because this is GameSack doing it. Wait, does 8-Bit Eric have a Subway sandwich in this scene? I actually used to be the manager of a Subway. I have baked thousands of loaves of Italian herbs and cheese, so I know it when I see it. The weird AVGN puke joke returns, and this time it's caused by 8-Bit Eric's feet. Which, again, that's like a reference joke. Like, the puking isn't funny on its own. It's funny because from the show we know about 8-Bit Eric, and we know what a little goblin he is. So it's funny that his feet would smell that bad. But again, that's just like reference humor. That's only funny because it's 8-Bit Eric. So they crash the car by driving off a cliff, which results in a very James Rolfe-esque shot of a Hot Wheel going down a freaking like anthill or something. And they crash next to this nerd club called the Tesseract, whatever. I'm gonna call it the fucking rec center from now on, because that's what it is. And the movie completely shifts gears from a road trip movie to a we gotta save the rec center movie. Like, why? We don't know these fucking people. Because they show up at the nerd club. They go in. We don't know who any of these fucking people are. We're just introduced to them. But then the guy who fired the Game Chasers at the beginning of the movie shows up and starts gloating about how he's gonna demolish the place or something. So it's like, now this is a fucking like cheesy 80s like underdog sports movie? Like what is even going on here? I thought we were looking for his NES. They are, because conveniently right next door to this happens to be Billy's cousin, so they talk to him, who tells them that he sold their NES to some guy who used to run a game store. So they break into his house, go into the basement, looking for the NES. These are the good guys, breaking into some guy's fucking house. But they still don't find the Nintendo there. Darn. Oh, where could the Nintendo be? Oh, wait, it was at the rec center the whole time? So they're about to get the Nintendo from the rec center, but oh no, the evil guy came back. Then he like rounds up all the nerds in the club, and he's gonna like fucking execute them, like by fucking firing squad. I don't know what the fuck is going on here. He like takes them hostage or something. Then, from out of nowhere, an army of nerds show up, and there's a big like fight scene over who owns the fucking rec center or club. What is this stupid fucking movie? I hate it. Like, oh my god. You know how I was saying that the AVGN movie has a generally satisfying flow of events where one thing results in the next thing happening? This movie is nothing like that. Everything that happens in this movie happens, like, independently of one another. It's like saving the rec center has nothing to do with them getting their Nintendo. It only does because they happen to fucking find their Nintendo there after not finding it the other place they look. Them stopping at the fucking restaurant so GameSack could just have those lines, like, that was the most entertained I was in the whole movie, but it's like, it's a non sequitur, like, that doesn't need to be there. Eventually it's revealed that Game Dave wants the Nintendo because that was supposed to be his Christmas gift 30 years ago or whatever, but his mom found out that he was snooping around looking for his presents, so she got rid of it and sold it to Billy's grandpa. So that's why Game Dave wants this fucking Nintendo. And the fat guy, who was supposed to be Justin Silverman, and I probably would have enjoyed it more if it was Justin Silverman. So the fat guy is so mad at this that he steals the Nintendo for himself, and then they go on like a chase scene where he like runs away. It's like, dude, you're 400 fucking pounds. Billy's a pretty fit guy. He would probably chase you down in about 2 nanoseconds, but whatever. He's somehow able to get away, and then he gets on a zip line, and then 8-Bit Eric shoots him with a missile, which causes him to drop the Nintendo, and then this time Billy and Jay catch it together, mirroring the vase scene from the beginning of the movie. Then they have a party at the nerd club. Nothing is resolved. They still don't have jobs. Their life still fucking sucks. But I guess now they have a Nintendo with no cords or controller or games. And this isn't like the Happy Console Gamer movie, where it's clearly just an amateur production made by somebody who doesn't know anything about making movies. In his professional life, Billy is some sort of videographer, I'm pretty sure. And you can tell in this because the movie looks really good. Like, it's shot well. I think it looks fantastic, but it's such a waste of that time, effort, and money when your end product has no ideas. Like, hammer that down first, man. It's like, this is technically competent, so you need to take it seriously as a movie, but when you do that, it just exposes how bad it is. It's so reference heavy. Like, you enjoy this movie on the same level as, like, just seeing something that you recognize. Have you ever had to make, like, a video for school, or maybe for, like, work or something? This could be, like, elementary school all the way up through college. If you've ever had to make a video, that's kind of what the Adventures in Game Chasing movie is like. All of the enjoyment is just seeing people that you recognize try to play these roles on screen. Like, imagine in school, it's like the shit that you made for school wasn't good, but when the class got together to watch it, they still had a fun time because it was fun seeing all your friends and all your classmates doing stuff on a screen. It's fun to have that experience. That is the extent of the appeal of Adventures in Game Chasing. I enjoyed seeing the Game Chasers on screen. I liked seeing 8-Bit Eric. I liked seeing Game Dave. I liked seeing Beat 'em Ups. Beat 'em Ups is in this. I liked seeing the Gaming Historian. He's in both of these. You know that Beat 'em Ups, before he became famous, was actually the Game Chasers cameraman? That's interesting, right? With something like the AVGN movie, which I think is clearly the best out of the three of these, I think it would be watchable if you knew nothing about the AVGN or about, like, the expanded AVGN universe. Like, people crap on James for not having Mike in his movie be the sidekick. Like, Cooper easily could have been Mike Matei, right? But he didn't do that. He went with an actor. He didn't make his wife the girl. He hired an actress. And that's a lot harder to do. To borrow a wrestling term, when you cast references, when you cast YouTubers, when you cast people that you know in your movie, that's a cheap pop. That doesn't make a good movie. That just makes the audience who knows, who recognizes what they're seeing, point and go, hey, I recognize them. That's cool that they're in this. When the AVGN movie branches out from that, and it actually has a little more to offer. I commend him for not relying entirely on just cheap gimmicks and references like that. I mean, it has referential humor, but, like, the crux of the movie isn't a reference. It isn't, like, shit, the premise of Adventures in Game Chasing is just what Billy says his backstory with playing NES games is. That sucks. I'm sorry, it fucking sucks. Good or bad, these movies do show that making a movie is something that anyone can do. I'm glad that the Game Chasers went and made this movie. I think it sucks, but I definitely don't regret backing it or anything. I think it's really important to support people's artistic endeavors. So, like, it didn't turn out well, but whatever, man. Making a movie is a lot better than not making a movie. They made something, and I haven't. So yeah, I am jealous. So, anyway, that's all I got. I've rambled on long enough. Never trust anyone who needs a haircut. Goodbye.